Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to share with you some updates on my computer since I've upgraded it. It's now running at 4.2 gig. This CPU is a AMD FX 8-core 8120, also known as the Bulldozer, or also known as Zambezi, whatever you want to call it. This CPU here normally runs at 3.1 gig and it's running at 4.2. That's a pretty impressive overclock. And right now I've only got it overclocked through the multiplier. I haven't messed with the bus yet because that's pretty time consuming. I just simply went in and messed with the multiplier and upped the voltage a little bit, and it has held stable for over 2 months now for the kind of use that I've given it. And the motherboard is an ASRock 890FX Deluxe 4. It has the 890FX chipset with the SB850 soft bridge. It's kind of similar to my previous motherboard in a way, but the Northbridge chip is a little bit different, and the new board itself is built much better than the old one. And this board here supports the Bulldozer CPU with a BIOS update. Okay, the graphics on this machine is the AMD Radeon HD 6750. It's an XFX card. Has 1 gig of, I think, GDDR3 installed. Not the best out there, but it's a lot better than what I had. What I used to have was a ATI Radeon HD 3450 with only 256 megabytes of RAM installed. And that card there was getting pretty old, and had a hard time keeping up with things like Google Earth and stuff on 2 displays. Okay, here's a good visual of the computer, how it looks at night. Looks pretty cool. You can barely see the water cooling tubes up on top. You can barely see the radiator. Here's what the front of the machine looks like at night. Looks pretty cool. What the interior looks like. Now, let's go and go over how this water cooling system is doing. Now, back in March when I first got finished with this upgrade, I eventually did, after I overclocked it, I did make a video about the temperature sensors on the CPU. And it's funny to note, I've been so busy, I'm just now getting that video uploaded tonight. But with this CPU, it seems like when it idles, it gives you an extremely low temperature, like this 24 degrees C, 74 degrees Fahrenheit. It's at least 80 degrees Fahrenheit in this room, and it's using the ambient room temperature air to cool that water. So certainly that temp has to be incorrect. Now when the CPU gets under just a hair bit of load, the temperature shoots up about 6 to 8 degrees C, and so far the highest has been was 32 or 33, which we will find out the maximum load temp here in just a moment. I'm going to pull up Soft Sandra and do some benchmarks. This software here is called Soft Sandra Lite. And this is a neat little tool to have if you have a custom built machine that you want to play with and see how it does. Let's go over to the benchmark section, and we're going to benchmark the CPU multimedia. Just close out of this. And what this does, it pulls up a bunch of CPUs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do a refresh on the benchmark. And in this stage, it likes to stress test the computer. It stress tests the CPU to get a good benchmark from it. Uses up all the cycles and everything. So you might as well forget about using your computer when this benchmark is running. This will take a little bit to complete. Okay, here's how the results turned out. The red is my particular setup. This blue is an Intel Core i7-2600 at 3.4 gig. The green is, funny to note, another 4.2 gig 8120. He must have a bus overclock, saying it's a slight bit higher than mine. This right here is a Core i5-2500K, and it is slightly lower than the FX8120 at 4.2 gig. And below that is another i5 2500. And just slightly lower. And of course, I believe these are user submitted results. It's at 3.3 gig. Turbo 3.7. That's why the orange is higher than the yellow, because on this yellow the turbo is 3.4. The top is multimedia integer native. The bottom is multimedia float double native. And of course, this is where the Intels tend to have the lead. But up here, the AMDs tend to get the lead of the Intels. Pretty interesting to look with. Now, of course, I wasn't intending on this to be like a big AMD versus Intel fight. I remember my video I posted back in September last year. People were were saying dislike, and all that kind of stuff. So I disabled rating and that kind of stuff. So anyways, let me see what else I can find here. Some good comparisons. Here's a Phenom 2, 3.53. Mine was at 3.8. So just look at the difference in this new Bulldozer versus the Phenom 2. What a big difference. And even on the multimedia float, there's a humongous difference overall. Anyways, see what else we got here. Here's a 955 at 3.21. Here's a Core 2 Quad Q6600. There's the Core 2 Quad right there. Slightly beat the Phenom 2. But the Phenom 2 beat the Core 2 Quad on the multimedia float. Anyways, not trying to bore you out, just anyways, back to my computer. We're going to talk about temps. The highest temperature we saw under that stress was 41 degrees C. And let's go back over here and let me show you something here. If I can find it. This software can tell you the wattage your CPU is pulling, and that estimates it. Here we go. Processor power, 189 watts. So this max load temp in a room where it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit, that's not too bad considering how hot the CPU is. And people do state online about how hot these new Bulldozer CPUs can get. So this water cooling system is doing a good job, I would say. And this water cooling system got put to a really good test not too long ago. See, the thing is, it got really hot outside. It was in the 90s outside, and it got real hot in here. Of course, the AC wasn't on. So it got up to about 90 degrees in here. And I was doing video editing, loading the CPU to 100% for a good bit. The highest I ever saw it get was 51 degrees C. And it was still running good and stable. So I mean, that's pretty incredible. And of course, if it was the Phenom 2, there's no telling how hot it would have been. It probably would have been up in the 60s. Anyways, that was a quick little, well, not so quick look at the benchmarks, but anyways, just wanted to give you an update on the MidTower Deluxe, how it was doing with the new setup. Anyways, any questions or comments, feel free to ask.